Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening.
Hold one, Andre.
You're not good at this. Get out. Let me tell you a personal story about Vince McMahon.
You just made the list.
Oh my God!
Sorry, no speak English.
Dummy. Goodbye and good night. Hold two, on bar.
It's still real to me, damn it!
Dummy. Yeah.
This is the worst town I've ever been in.
Hold three, Lamas covered. Three-handle family Gradunzel.
Mamma mia!
And now, Unchained.media presents the B Plus Podcast with your host, Greg Unchained.
It's me, Austin! It was me all along, Austin!
Number 4, armbar.
I will never retire!
I still got 200 more. I got 200 more holes to list.
All right, fellow B Plus players, welcome to the B Plus Podcast. I'm your host, Greg Unchained. Today is Thursday. You know what that means. It's time for a bonus episode. A lot of our bonus episodes lately have focused on Aussie wrestling, but this time around, we're talking BritWres. With this month in BritWres, I am joined, of course, by Aqeel the Heel. How are you, Aqeel?
Good day. I'm very, very well. I'm very tired. I'm only just woken up, but ready to talk.
Right, yeah, it's the late afternoon where I am, but it's bright and early in the morning where you are, over across the pond.
Bright and early. Too bright, if anything.
Yeah, it's really hot here. Like I'm in my little office and everything's like closed off, and I can't have the fan on in here while I'm recording or anything. So I'm really, really hot because we're like right in the middle of spring now. So
Yeah, it's starting to get cold here. I don't like it. I think I've got a cold.
yeah, that's the worst, especially when you got to talk, right?
Yeah.
So sorry for doing that to you. Do you like how I've just branded you the heel? By the way, it's who you are now. It's
I said this last time. I just speak the truth. The truth that
Yeah, but-
you guys are too afraid to say.
But the truth hurts. The truth hurts. This is it's your truth. It's your truth.
Oh.
And I wanted to talk to you about that actually. Did you get a chance? I know we talked about it. We talked about it in chat, but did you get a chance to catch that MCW show?
No, I've been so deep in trying to watch end of year stuff. I haven't had a chance to actually watch it. It's on my list.
Yeah, that's fair.
Watch it this week for
That's
sure.
fair. Yeah, because I'm looking forward to hearing what you think, specifically of the Brooksy and Slex match. Because I know that Arn also is not necessarily high on Brooksy, but he watched the match at Iron Fist and said that he enjoyed that Brooksy better than the Brooksy that you guys got in the UK. So maybe there's something to it. Maybe, like I said, I haven't watched the UK stuff, so I don't know. But Arn said that what he saw on Iron Fist was definitely better than what he'd seen over there.
Yeah, a couple of the Aussies I know have also said that something, like, for whatever reason, Brooksy didn't seem to be doing as well as he normally does. So it might just be I saw the wrong stuff.
Fair enough. I've made it my mission to change your mind because me and the other guys who are involved in the Aussie Grap stuff that we do, we're all really big Brooksy fans. And when I tell them, I'm like, Aqeel, who does the BritWres podcast with me, he went on a rant about how much he doesn't like Brooksy. They're all like, really? Like, that's a really weird. Like, of all the people to not like, you know, it's a weird, like, because we've got another Aussie over there at the moment, Mr. Gino Gambino. Have you caught any of his stuff while he's been over there?
Mr. Juicy. I love Mr. Juicy so much. He's great.
Mr. Juicy, right. I love Mr. Juicy too, but there is a contingent of fans who are not too big on Mr. Juicy, and I can understand that more than I can understand not being too big on Brooksy, if that makes it, because Mr. Juicy's style isn't necessarily for everyone.
Yeah, but I have a soft spot in my heart for big fat wrestlers, basically, to put it bluntly.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I love Gino Gambino personally. I think the stuff he's doing in MCW as well at the moment, since he switched from sort of the comedic juicy to a more serious character. His match with Robbie Eagles on that show that you're going to watch. I can't wait to hear what you think about it. But let's stop talking about all my stuff and let's get into the BritWres. I'm going to be completely honest. I have watched nothing. I tell a lie. I watched NXT UK. I did watch NXT UK, but other than NXT UK, this month when it comes to British stuff, I haven't even gotten around to Progress Wembley yet. Like, it's on my list, but I haven't gotten around to it yet just because of time reasons. There's so much stuff to get to, and so I'm going to be relying on you to hold my hand through all of this month.
That's the point of this podcast. You're lucky.
Yeah, no. I know that's the point, but I mean, I usually get to watch one or two things at least, but nothing this month, nothing at all. I feel like a jerk.
Yeah, I mean, with the 2 TV shows, because of those, it's been a bit of a quiet month this month anyway, so it's not like you're missing out a ton.
Yeah, so I think that's where we should kick things off too with the 2 TV shows. RevPro started there. Like, there's only been one has aired, right? One episode has aired.
Yeah, it started on Friday.
Right. And NXT UK started 2 days before that.
2 days before that, announced a week before. Yeah. Even though RevPro's TV debut was announced like a month before. I mean, you can connect the dots.
Oh, it's got to be a coincidence, right?
Of course.
I mean, WWE is such a big company. There's no way they can know and pay attention and accidentally, tread on the toes of other companies like that.
That's not. I mean, they wouldn't just tape 80 odd matches and then on a whim decide, you know what, let's actually start airing these on this specific date.
I just don't know why they haven't aired them sooner. Like, the thinking was they wanted to go on TV to go against World of Sport, right? Like, that's what all the dirty dirt sheets were saying.
Yeah.
But
I think that,
I don't know, it's odd.
I didn't think it was ever going to get a real TV deal over here.
Yeah.
Because NXT proper doesn't air on TV here. I don't even think we get we get main event, but it's like on a real delay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was ever going to actually be on TV. And I think the fact that World of Sport ended up being crap meant they didn't really feel the need to air NXT UK that urgently.
Yeah. But then they have 3 months worth of tapings in the can, and so now the TV show is super behind.
Yeah, and
because we're watching at Evolution, the NXT UK Women's Championship is on the line, and they decided the number 1 contender in the most recent tapings. But Evolution is happening this weekend, and we're not going to see who becomes the champion for another month and who becomes the challenger for another month after that. It's a bit odd.
I imagine that Evolution match is going to be taped for NXT UK, the way they tape an episode of NXT proper the same time as takeovers.
Okay, so
I'm just guessing
they'll give it a pre-show treatment kind of thing.
I'm just guessing because obviously we don't even have the tournament hasn't even started on NXT UK for the women's title.
It's such a clusterfuck. It's just ridiculous and messy. But I mean, we may as well talk about the actual shows themselves. I mean, so NXT UK. This is the one thing I've watched, so I feel like an authority on this. It was there. It existed.
I think
it was a thing that happened.
Yeah. I think the issue was for the people involved. This is now the 3rd or 4th time they've tried to get this off the ground. You had the original UK. You had the original UK tournament. There was that random taping in Norwich. You had the second NXT tournament, the UK tournament. So I'm sure everyone on the shows probably thought, okay, whether or not this actually shows up on TV, what happens with it?
Yeah, and it should be said that this whole NXT UK thing has been rife with these coincidences from the beginning, because the first tournament was right around the time the World of Sport talk started.
Yeah.
And then the World of Sport talk died down, and then the World of Sport announced that they did get a TV deal, and that's when the second tournament happened. Once again, pure coincidence.
No. So the taping... Yes, you're right, but why was the Norwich tapings happened?
I have no idea. I didn't even know that was a thing.
There was a random. So they did a TV taping. It ended up airing just as a UK special on the network.
Okay, yeah. Oh, no, I do remember that. I don't know why they did that
Yeah,
one.
it had a really good Tyler Bate Mark Andrews match, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, that happened.
Yeah, and it aired at like 3 a.m. or something. I think in my time, at least, it was at like 3 a.m. and it was like, no one's going to watch that.
Yeah, because it aired at a relatively reasonable time here. Because I remember watching it and then going on a night out. So, probably.
Right, yeah. Yeah, so I don't know why that one happened, but all of the others have been very coincidental.
Of course. Just coincidence. WWE's a massive company. They don't have time to think about these things.
Yeah, but I don't know, this episode, it just sort of, like I said, just sort of existed. The main event was fantastic. I mean, but there's no such thing as a bad Pete Dunne match. I've seen some mediocre Pete Dunne matches, let's say. I think he works really hard when it's on WWE or NXT. When he works some indies, he can lean very heavily on the shtick. I completely get why he does it, and I still think, like last year, he was my wrestler of the year, or at least top 3. So I still love him, but he takes it easy sometimes. Right. Fair enough. Look, okay, so first off, all right, sidebar. We're gonna do another one of these classic sidebars that we do. Me and Mikey have been talking about putting together, for when we start, we're launching Patreon probably in the new year. We're looking at putting together wrestle debate episodes. I want to do a wrestle debate with you about shtick.
Okay.
Because you're very anti-shtick, and I am super pro-shtick.
No, I think my opinion on shtick is it can work, but you can't focus on it too heavily. And shtick can, when you do it for the live audience, more often than not, they'll love it. I think it doesn't always translate to tape. And also, frankly, it's lazy a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And what I want...
All right, you're giving me your points here, so you're just giving me an advantage come debate.
Look, I'm just now...
But I just want to... Are you interested? Would that be something you'd want to do?
I'm down.
All right, yeah, we're going to do it. We'll do it properly, like a proper debate. We'll get someone else on the team to moderate, and we'll have a couple minutes to make our case, and then we'll have like a... Maybe we'll even... I'm trying to figure out how to do live casts, so maybe we'll even do a live cast so people can throw questions at us and stuff. It'll be chaotic. It'll be amazing. I'm keen for it. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah, so Pete Dunne, and of course his competitor in this main event was Noam Dar. And Noam Dar, I'm not a huge fan of Noam Dar, but he's very gifted at what he does.
So the thing with Noam Dar is that he got very, very good at a young age and has sort of been coasting on that for a while. It's the concern.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's the concern a lot of people have about someone like Tyler Bate, where because he's got so good so early, he's going to stop improving at a certain point and just stay at that, say, at a level.
Yeah.
And Noam Dar, especially because he came up in an era, he came up just before the BritWres boom, so it's not even like the working standard was super high.
Yeah, so he was like one of the guys that was pushing it forward, kind of thing.
Yeah, he was very...
Even though he was young, and
yeah, he worked the first few Progress shows. He was an ICW original.
I appreciate you holding back there and not going on a rant about ICW.
But ICW and how they were very, very important to the Progress boom and now suck. And once they go on the WWE network, everyone's going to realize how bad this company is and stop talking about them. No, I would never say those things.
No, of course not. Of course not. It would be so out of place for you to just turn heel like that. You know, you see why I call you Aqeel the heel, right?
I get it.
So other than that main event, though, it really just felt like, okay, there's nothing going on. There was nothing important. We had like a Dave Mastiff squash match, I think. We had the Coffee Brothers demolished someone as well. Mark Andrews, I think. That was actually a decent match.
The
The opening
Yeah,
match
yeah.
with Mark Andrews and Drew Coffey.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Those are two guys that work hard. I enjoy most of the time. It's a good little match.
Yeah.
I think it's going to take a while for these shows to get really, really good. Partly because also a lot of the people involved don't have much experience working TV, so it's just going to take a while for them to adjust.
I think it's a matter of the TV show finding itself too, because it really just felt like NXT, but without any of the, the characters on NXT all know themselves really well at this point.
Yeah.
And we know those characters too, so it felt like that, but without the years of backstory that we've all been invested in. That's what it felt like.
Well,
it didn't feel like a specifically British show either, which is probably something to nitpick at because it's called NXT UK. You'd want it to differentiate somehow.
Well, I mean, NXT proper took a while to get really, really good. So
yeah,
I imagine again this will just take a couple. Look, this show there's no risk of this show ever stopping. So it's not like they have to put their best foot forward immediately. If it takes them 6 months, a year to get where NXT proper was at its peak, that's just what's going to happen, and they're going to let it happen.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Look, before we move on to the RevPro TV show, there's something else I wanted to mention as well. And what do you make of the whole? I mean, it's just rumors at this point, but NXT Germany. What do you make of that?
It's really, really interesting. So there's a lot of people that I'm friends with that have contacts within WXW. WXW is a company that's very, very open to media types. I'm using media in air quotes. People like us that do podcasts, they're very, very open to talking to these kinds of people.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, for the Tag League, they had like a whole media day and everything, right?
Yeah, so they had specialized media events. People that got to have like a little press conference interview type thing with a lot of the wrestlers. There was a special media room where you could record podcasts and things. A friend of mine was actually live reviewing the show, and he was given a special place within the arena to be able to do that. So there are a company
that's actually pretty amazing, to be honest.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's great, and that's part of the reason why. So they've blown up really in the last year or two, and I think that openness to people like us has helped that because, frankly, in a lot of senses, the reviewers, the podcasters are sort of the tastemakers on this level, you know? So if they say, this thing is really, really good, people who read, people who listen will go, okay, I'm going to go seek this out and see for myself how good it is. It helps that WXW has been really, really good. And so, sorry, on the WXW Germany thing, NXT Germany, my brain is done.
Yeah.
It is possible. I think what's interesting is, and we might as well fold in all of our WXW talk here, Christian Michael Jacoby, who was running the company, the day after Wembley announced that he was taking a leave of absence.
Right.
Because he was facing burnout and just his mental health wasn't great, so he was told to take some time away. As part of that, they've also split off the company into two different. So WXW has its own training school, and they've split off the training school as a separate company.
Okay.
Which could be a sign that maybe this training school is going to be involved with NXT. And
right, and the training school is the one that Walter runs.
Walter
right?
runs. Tim Thatcher is very heavily involved in. There's a couple other people involved.
So, I have a conspiracy theory here. We know that WWE have been interested in Walter a few times. They've tried to sign this guy. And Walter has said quite openly, I'm not interested in moving to America. I'm not interested. I want to stay home. Right?
Yeah.
is this just their way, because we know that WWE also like to play keep away, is this their way of making sure, because Walter has also said he wants to go to Japan, is this their way of making sure that doesn't happen? If they sign NXT UK and they take over this school and Walter stays involved with the training and the NXT Germany and all that stuff, it keeps him away from New Japan?
It is possible, I think.
Would a multi-billion-dollar company spend this much money to keep one person away from another company? I actually think they might.
No, of course not. Why would they do such a thing? How can a company be so petty? I would never believe it. How could they?
It's probably just another one of those coincidences.
You know? This is just a company that's taking millions of dollars from a burgeoning oil baron. They would never do something bad.
Yeah, we should say hashtag fuck Saudi Arabia, hashtag cancel Crown Jewel. Just want to throw that in there. I throw that wherever I can because it's ridiculous.
So
but yeah,
back to the NXT. I think it's possible, but I think Walter is someone that's very high up in that company, obviously. And so if he has ideas of wanting to work Japan, the company isn't going to do anything to stop that. You know? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I just thought it was odd, and my conspiracy brain just starts ticking over. But we should bring it back. We should bring it back to RevPro, the TV show that inevitably ended up, I guess, in a way, competing with NXT UK. It aired, the first RevPro episode was 2 days after the NXT UK airing. How was the TV show? Because I have not been able to find it anywhere. Which is really unfortunate.
Yeah, it is really unfortunate. It was a really good show, to be honest. It started off with a quite good Chris Brooks Jushin Thunder Liger match. No, actually, it started with a graphic, The Rules of Professional Wrestling, which was the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Right? I heard about this. I heard it started and they actually went through it as if, like, you know, shock horror, this could be someone's first time ever watching wrestling. And we're gonna help them through this.
It was so cool. But yeah, it started off with a really good Chris Brooks Jushin Thunder Liger match. You had actual interviews with the wrestlers. I know this is something shocking and something that doesn't happen, weirdly, on BritWres TV shows these days.
Yeah, well, to be fair, it's something that that NXT UK, at least when it came to the UK tournaments, was very good at. And WWE tend to be very good at this with their Mae Young Classic and everything, having those interviews. And World of Sport did not do it at all. And I'm just left being like, why the hell do I care about this Justin Sizem guy? I don't give a shit about him.
They built up they did an interview with Colt Cabana, building up his big return to the UK on next week's show or the week after. It was a really good, it felt like, I don't know if you remember when Ring of Honor first went on to HDNet, when they first got TV, it felt a lot like felt a lot like that. It felt a lot like sort of early 2000s indies. It had a really good. I saw a lot of people comparing it to. So over here we had a thing called the Wrestling Channel, which basically aired Ring of Honor, CZW, a lot of those sort of early 2000 indies.
Like the Jersey All Pro, MLW, basically any of those that had a syndicated TV show.
A lot of Japanese.
That sounds amazing. How did we never get that? God damn, Australia, pick your game.
It didn't last here very long, but a lot of the wrestlers of sort of that generation point to the Wrestling Channel as one of the things that opened their eyes to the wider world of wrestling. So it felt a lot like those sort of early 2000s type shows you'd see on the Wrestling Channel.
Well, that's smart. That's smart. Like you could have much worse models to follow because look at the success Ring of Honor have had, and it started somewhere. So it's smart to follow that sort of formula.
Yeah, and I think the TV show was better. The RevPro TV was better than NXT UK, but their shows serving two different masters. NXT UK has time to sort of tread water and be okay, because again, look at 205 Live. That show was going on forever and being kind of bad. NXT UK can go on
Yeah.
forever being kind of bad. RevPro TV has I don't know this for a fact, most likely has a limited TV order, and they need good ratings to increase that order, so the show needs to be good.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you're going to produce the best television when you don't have the luxury of we've got time.
Exactly.
If this week's TV needs to be your best TV, then chances are, I mean, you're either going to fail or succeed spectacularly, one or the other, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's a broader point about that's the issue playing WWE right now, where the week-to-week TV doesn't matter fundamentally anymore. And so they can do whatever they want, really, because this week's rating doesn't matter at all. It's good for the company that that's the way it is, but for a consumer, it hurts things. But again, that's very off topic.
Yeah. But yeah, back to RevPro. So it's good to hear that it was a good show. Do we know anything about the ratings or anything yet? Has any of that information
No, so
come out?
Free Sports aren't a channel that releases their ratings. We had a rough idea of how. So before RevPro TV, they had 5-star wrestling, which was an absolute shambles. It was a complete and utter disaster in so many ways. But that aired on Free Sports for a while, and we had a list of the top 5 shows on Free Sports for a certain week, and 5-star didn't show up on that. So we'll be able to assume roughly where RevPro TV is, how it's doing, but nothing has come out yet, really.
Right. Fair enough. But that's not the only thing going on in RevPro. I believe you wanted to talk Global Wars as well.
So Global Wars happened last weekend now, I believe.
Yep. I think it's up on RPW On Demand. I'm pretty sure I saw it, but I haven't got to it yet.
So I actually started watching it last night. I'm a couple matches in now. It's a good show. For people that don't know, Global Wars is RevPro's big New Japan crossover show, or one of their big New Japan crossover shows, like Global Wars Ring of Honor does. It was a good show. The top end is really, really good. There's an Ishii Suzuki match which rules. There is, I forgot the other matches. There's a Will Ospreay Chris Ridgway match which is really, really good, even though that's the match Will Ospreay got injured in. It's still a great match. My issue with Global Wars was twofold. First of all, the venue they used is really, really crappy. It was like just an old high school gym type. You can see the basketball hoops in the background. It was just a bad venue to use. It wasn't their first choice. It was like their third choice. They were almost forced into having to use it. But it was a bad venue to use.
Even New Japan use those venues sometimes, and I watch it. Like I'm watching the Super Junior tournament or whatever, and it's. I mean, they're not the Super Junior tag, and they're not presenting it as a big TV show or anything. It's a single cam. It's not anything special. There's no commentary, but it just looks odd. Like because you see it, even though they're not presenting it as a big TV show or anything, you see it and you're like, why am I watching this right now? It's in a gymnasium, and like the shows I go to aren't even in venues that bad.
Difference is,
so it's kind of off-putting.
I think the difference is those New Japan Super League, the Super Tag League shows, they're not marquee events. Global Wars is supposed to be RevPro's like second, third biggest show of the year.
Right, so it's extra shitty for them to do that. Yeah.
It would be like if SummerSlam was in I don't know where I was going with this idea, in a smaller arena.
If SummerSlam was at like a college baseball field. Yeah. Yeah, no, I feel you. It's kind of weird.
I think that's all we need to talk about with RevPro.
Well, I had something else with RevPro actually. We talked about it on King of Sports last night, but I'll bring it up anyway. The the British Heavyweight Championship is actually being defended at Power Struggle.
Yeah, that's really
Japan
cool. I actually
by two. It's in a match between two Japanese competitors, and of course, it makes the RPW is more legitimately a Japanese strong style type New Japan promotion than New Japan are when they visit America.
Yeah, I think the difference is. Actually, I don't know why that is. To be honest with you, it is weird.
It's weird, right? It's really weird.
I imagine it's because when New Japan are working with RevPro, they're more guests as opposed to running their own show, and so they're beholden to whatever Big Andy Q wants to do.
Yeah. Who, by the way, Andy Q has become one of my favorite guys in wrestling since I've met you and you turned me on to his podcast, the A Squared podcast that he does.
What he's really good at, I'm sure you know, what he's become really good at is he doesn't care. He will happily talk about whatever. He's very, very open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's very candid. And I could just listen to, I like the way his wrestling mind works, and I could listen to his wrestling mind for days. Like I'm honestly at this point, just from listening to him, I think I'd put him up there. I have a much more of an affinity for, and have listened to much more of his stuff, Mike Quackenbush.
See, I have some issues with Mike Quackenbush, but it's more about his practices than it is his actual psychology, if that makes sense.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, well, I mean, it's not too important to get into, but for me, like when it comes to wrestling minds, like even guys like Jericho or Steve Austin and stuff, like I can't listen to all their stuff. I'm just like, like I don't really care. Or JR, like if there's something in particular I want to hear his opinion on and I see it in the show notes, I'll have a listen to what they say, or I'll listen to highlight clips or whatever. But this A Squared has become one of my must listen to podcasts. I could listen to this guy talk wrestling forever.
I would highly recommend the show to anyone listening. The thing with Andy is you can trace his back all the way to like early 2000s BritWres, because he used to be a referee.
Yeah, he talks about it on the show. He talks about his time with FWA and stuff as a referee.
And I think him growing up as a fan has really helped shape the way he thinks about wrestling, and it just so happens that lines up with what a lot of other fans think about wrestling.
Yeah, and it makes RevPro, like hearing him talk about things, it makes RevPro make more sense too. Like, not that RevPro doesn't make sense, but one of the things I've seen about the RevPro TV show was that it's very logical, and like it's just a logical pro wrestling show, and logic is something that, I mean, if you watch WWE, forget about logic. Like, logic is long gone when you watch WWE. Logic is long gone when you watch Impact. Even Ring of Honor has lost all semblance of logic the last couple of years.
Yeah, with RevPro, it comes with the fact that they do things very, very simply, so they don't try to do very over the top storylines. If they do.
Right, and he talks about this stuff on the podcast, and it captivates me. So big shout out for Andy Q and the A Squared podcast, and the other guy who's on the show, who I always forget his name. But
Andy Boy Simmons, he is the other commentator for RevPro, and he himself used to be a wrestler in the FWA days as well.
Yeah, and is he the guy that did like a 30-minute post show on his own on the Impact Twitch stream?
That's him.
That I watched thinking, is anything else going to happen, or is it just this guy talking in a British accent for the next 20 minutes? And it was just that guy talking in a British accent for the next 20 minutes.
Andy Simmons is great. He's a great man. Most people hate him, but I love him.
That's got to be a tough position to be put in, though. It's like, we got 30 minutes of dead air. Fill it.
Especially considering you're not someone that's known for being involved in that product. Like, like, fine, it's Josh Matthews, let's listen to him. Who's this man?
All right, well, we're getting carried away again, as we do.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Sorry to interrupt the podcast, B+ players, but I just need to take a second to tell you about Threadbox. Threadbox is a subscription service for men that makes looking good easier than ever before. Just fill out a few questions to start building your style profile, and from there you will be paired with a stylist who will send you new threads once a month, so you don't have to worry about checking the stores and finding new clothes. It's like having a personal shopper and stylist at your fingertips, and you just sit back, relax, wait for your awesome new gear to arrive in the mail. They sent me a box this month. I got a new pair of jeans. I got 2 shirts. You can check out the unboxing video on the Facebook page. And the best part about it is you can get in touch with your stylist by email at any time. So if you need new singlets, if you need new long sleeves, if you need new shoes, if there's something specific you want, you just let them know what you need and they'll tailor the box to your specific requests. It's a completely personalized service available on any budget. You'll always get way more value than you pay for because Threadbox work with all the best brands. Boxes start from just $40, and if you use our code, the B+15 at checkout today, you're going to get 15% off your first box. So what are you waiting for, man? Like, if you want to look better with less effort, head to threadbox.com.au and use the code the B+15 to get your box today. I wanted to bring it back. We were talking about New Japan and how RevPro feels like more like a Japanese promotion than they do when they go to America. Something else interesting is happening with the UK and Japan. Fight Club Pro are running Korakuen.
Yes, they are, in January.
I loved your tweet, by the way. You tweeted about Fight Club Pro being like the Schrodinger's box of pro wrestling.
Yeah. See, that's the thing.
Popped me.
That's the thing, because Fight Club Pro in, I want to say 2016? Yeah, 2016 was like the best company in this country. They had they had short shows. It was in like grimy little warehouse, which was great. You could barely see anything, but it worked. It was punk rock wrestling, actually, as opposed to just as a brand name.
Like before Progress did the punk rock thing and then sold themselves to WWE.
Yeah, no, but the Progress have never really fully had that punk rock aesthetic, even though it's what they're preaching. I've never felt like they don't run grimy warehouses.
But that's not what punk rock is. Punk rock is DIY. Punk rock is not giving a fuck whether someone thinks you should be in a grimy warehouse or not. And that's why the natural evolution of punk rock is selling out. Like, Simple Plan are the natural evolution of punk rock.
Yeah, and that hurts.
Yeah, because the whole idea is we don't give a shit. And so when people start putting too much expectations on us to be dirty and bad at our stuff, then, we don't give a shit about that either. So it's kind of a natural evolution there. And Progress, I don't know, Progress are still punk rock to me. I get it.
Fair.
A bit less so, but I get it.
But Fight Club Pro, yeah, so they were really, really good. Then they started getting a bit of buzz around the start of 2017. They did their first Dream Tag Team Invitational. That was the show featuring British Strong Style versus the Elite.
Yeah, so I was going to say it was a lot of the British strong style guys, Pete Dunne and Trent Seven and stuff were instrumental with Fight Club Pro, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so it is Trent Seven's promotion. He owns the company.
Right.
Tyler Bate trained there. There's a couple other people from the Dan Maloney worked the first British UK tournament. He is very heavily involved in Fight Club Pro. There's a lot of people there. So they started to get big, and what happened was they sort of lost their identity for a while.
Right.
They were putting on shows which weren't that good, very comedy, very shticky, but throughout the entire show. And at a certain point, that starts to weigh on people. They also moved to a bigger venue, which I felt lost a lot of the aesthetic of Fight Club Pro.
Right.
To put it into perspective, that original Fight Club Pro venue, the Fixin', I went to and ended up pissing in a trough next to Tyler Bate in full gear. That's the kind of venue it was. And then they moved to a quote unquote real venue, which I didn't like. They've since moved from that venue to a third venue I haven't seen yet. The thing with them is they've been doing a lot of bad stuff for the last year or so, when they started to become big, but they also bring in a lot of cool names. So Meiko Satomura is their champion right now.
Yes.
They have their 100th show coming up with Masato fucking Tanaka.
Masato Tanaka, who is still a beast, by the way.
Great.
I saw him at a BCW show, and despite the overall quality of the show, he looked like a beast for the few minutes he was in the ring.
Yeah, so you get one or two really great Masato Tanaka matches coming out of Japan every year. It's still amazing. They brought over Suma and Uta. Yes, that's how to say it. The Strong Hearts. They brought them over.
Yeah.
They use a lot of cool talent, but the shows are just really boring.
Right. Fair enough. So that's hence the Schrodinger's box. Like it's both good and bad.
Yeah, you can't ignore them
at any given time.
You can't ignore them because they're bringing over such cool talent. But at the same time, you watch the show and you never know whether it's actually going to be good or not.
Right.
But yes, so they're running because they have a lot of these little friendships with. Because they have a lot of these little friendships with some of the Japanese.
With like Dragon Gate and Noah and stuff, and All Japan, I think. They've brought over some All Japan guys, maybe not.
Maybe they brought over Sekimoto, who works All Japan.
Yeah.
I reckon, so they're running a show in Korakuen, Wrestle Kingdom weekend. I think it's like January 6th or something.
Yeah. Like a couple of days after, I think 6 sounds right, yeah.
Yeah, and I reckon it will be a very Japanese-heavy show. So you'll probably see Sendai Girls, you'll probably see the Strong Hearts, you'll probably see, I don't know, Sekimoto will probably be there. And then you'll probably get British Strong Style people involved, you'll probably get a couple Brits going over. But it's really cool because I can't remember the last time a British company ran Korakuen. I don't.
Yeah. Could it be a first time ever?
It might be. Nothing's sticking out to me.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. I like the whole idea of turning Wrestle Kingdom week into a big week like WrestleMania is. I think that's a smart move. I think everyone should run shows that week.
Yeah.
Over there, like anyone who has any kind of Japanese influence or ties or a worthwhile reason for being there should be there.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's just a bit difficult for some people logistically because obviously it's far away. But if you can do it, I really think people should get involved because you have a lot of foreigners there anyway just to watch wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. It's less far away for us, but we don't have as big a footprint yet. So, maybe in 5 or 6 years' time, we'll have Australian promotions with relationships with Japan. I mean, we do have some Australian promotions with relationships with Japan, but hopefully we can break into that market. That'd be amazing.
That would be really cool. Yeah.
But yeah, so they're running Korakuen, and that was pretty much the only thing I had on the slate for Fight Club Pro. There was also some stuff I saw on the run sheet. You have OTT down. Now, I know absolutely nothing about OTT, but what I see here in front of me is piquing my interest. Tell me about Volta Ospreay.
Right. Okay. So, OTT, in Ireland, there's not a great history of professional wrestling. It basically starts with Finn Balor. Frankly, he opened one of the first Irish wrestling schools in the country. OTT are their first real strong promotion, and I've been wanting to talk about them basically every episode we've done, and it just hasn't been the right time.
Right.
But they are absolutely killing it and doing amazing things. They had a really good year-long story with Jordan Devlin he started off as the import killer, so they would bring over people, Moose, Timothy Thatcher, I think even Will Ospreay, no, not Will Ospreay, someone else, I can't remember. They brought over a lot of these guys, and Jordan Devlin would beat them and prove that he was the best, and the best was Irish. He went on like a 22-month or something ridiculous undefeated streak where he had never been pinned even in like a tag match. He ended up losing his title to Volta in an absolutely incredible match that is on YouTube. Greg, I will send it to you, link it, everyone needs to watch it.
Yes.
Dave,
we'll put the link in the show notes.
Dave Meltzer was going crazy about it. He was talking about how he needs to go to an OTT show because the atmosphere is so special. And so Walter, his first defense of the title was against Will Ospreay just this past month. And again, another incredible match. Maybe my match of the year. It was that good. And
wow, okay.
Yeah, it's insanely good. And
there's been some very good matches this year.
Yeah,
so
it's a very, very strong year. But I think Walter Ospreay was something special.
Okay, fair enough.
I would put it against any G1 match, and it's probably better. I might change that because I just remember Tanahashi Ibushi was amazing. But besides the point, it was great. You need to go out of your way to watch this match. If you're someone even slightly interested in BritWres, you need to go out of your way to start following OTT. Even though technically they're not British, please don't tell them I said this. But
I mean, it's the United Kingdom, right?
Listen, the Irish have a very complicated history.
How about instead of calling it BritWres, we should call it UKRes?
Most people call it Eurograps.
Eurograps, that's what we call it now, is it?
Yeah, because again, WXW is German, and Arna is actually watching a lot of these weird, obscure. Like he was watching a Danish wrestling show the other day.
Yeah, he told me about that. What was it? It was a bar.
Body Slam.
Body Slam. Yeah, Body Slam. Right. Yeah, interesting stuff. Yeah, I should actually probably rename the podcast because when I contacted you initially, I thought, yeah, we'll talk BritWres. I didn't realize because my exposure, as I told you on the first episode, my exposure to the British wrestling scene came through the NXT UK specials and stuff. So for me, like, I mean, I've always known there's wrestling over there, but it's sort of with the internet sort of converging the way it has, it's finally becoming accessible and I'm getting into everything. And yeah, I didn't even realize like there was OTT and WXW and you're only a train ride away from all these places, you lucky prick. And so yeah, we should probably rename it. There we go. It's not this month in BritWres, people. It's this month in Eurograps. There we go.
Sorry, Mike Kilby. Anyway, yeah. So OTT has been doing amazing things. If you're at all interested in BritWres, I'd highly recommend you start following them. Jordan Devlin had one of the strongest title runs I've seen in a while. They have an amazing selection of young guys just bubbling over. They've got these three dudes more than hype, which is LJ Cleary, Dan Kearney, LJ Cleary, Darren Kearney, and Nathan Martin, more than hype, who are
okay.
So they are about where Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne were 2 or 3 years ago, where you can tell they're going to be amazing, but they're just waiting for that one big opportunity. And
right, I like the name.
Yeah,
I like the name more
it's
than
cool,
hype.
isn't it? So if you want to be on the ground floor of the next Pete Dunne, the next Tyler Bate, start following OTT, please.
Right. OTT is where it's at. So OTT is sort of like the next wave, you think? is coming through Ireland.
So
All right,
OTT are where
It's a hot take.
OTT are where Progress were just before the WWE stuff started to happen, where they're doing a lot of cool stuff. It's just not quite enough people are paying attention.
Okay, fair enough. Well, Volta Ospreay is going to get attention. Like I said, just looking at it here, I know nothing about OTT, but just looking at what you've got written here, just Volta Ospreay, that's enough for me to be like, I need to check this out and see what this is. Because I'm familiar with both of them, obviously, and that makes me want to watch.
And it's only their second ever match together.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, their first.
Interesting. See, I want to see them. I want to see them in New Japan because Ospreay's going heavyweight too. So, please, NXT Germany, don't happen. But moving on, we should probably talk about the big one that we spent half the show talking about last time. Progress. Hello, Wembley. It happened. I haven't watched it yet, but I've heard it went quite well.
Yeah, it was a pretty good show. They ended up drawing. So last time we said it looked like they were about to draw between 3,000 and 4,000. I think the number was 4,700 at the end.
Okay, so we said that would be a success, right? So we say that's a success.
It's a good number. They had a couple issues with the show. First of all, it just ran really, really long. So long, in fact, that they had to release the main event for free because so many people had to leave the show to catch trains or whatever. The main event, of course, being Walter versus Tyler Bate, free on YouTube. Greg, link it up.
Yep, in the show notes. Check it.
But yeah, it was a pretty good show. One of the big things coming out of it was Eddie Dennis and Mark Andrews was a bit of a disaster. There was a table that wouldn't break, and they kept going after it to the point where it sort of became a comedy match.
That's uncomfortable. I don't like it when tables are too hard and don't break.
Yeah, it was really tough to watch. I felt bad for that.
Yeah. Although I've heard from some wrestlers though, the super easy break tables like the ones WWE use, they can be worse because they kind of splinter and stuff sometimes. Like the way they break, they don't always break clean.
Yeah. So Progress did the last time they did a TLC match was Tommy End and his tag team partner against the London Riots, a team we don't have to talk about. And they had that issue where all of the furniture was just breaking apart. The tables, if you touched it, it broke. The ladders were splitting apart. So Progress have a history of not doing TLC matches well. And sadly, this happened with Wembley. But the rest of the show was really, really good. Your mates Aussie Open ended up winning the tag titles.
Yes, they did. They did. We talked about that on the Aussie Graps shows. You can go back and listen to us gushing and congratulating Kyle Fletcher, who's actually just been in Australia as well. And you can catch his latest match that he had here in Australia with Unsocial Jordan on pwaplay.com. It is up. It is what I was watching right before we started talking.
Good stuff.
Shameless plugs. Shameless plug. It's not even I'm not even plugging my stuff. So, it actually is shameless. I have no shame in plugging these things because they're awesome.
Mark Davis he's still got a number one contendership, just as an aside. He won the Natural Progression Series, which is their sort of young guys tournament. He still hasn't cashed in his winning from that.
Right, and what title is that for any title? Oh, yeah. There you go.
So, you might get Walter Mark Davis coming up at some point.
Oh, don't tease me. Don't tease me. No, you know what, though? They're going for the RevPro titles as well, I believe.
So they're facing Suzuki and Zack Sabre Jr. And poor Carl Fletcher is probably going to die. Poor boy. That poor boy.
Yeah. He's probably going to die and then have another Japanese legend be like, this guy needs to come to Japan.
Yeah, just his corpse.
It's kind of his gimmick at this point. He's the guy that Japanese legends like.
Because he's amazing. It's just a shame career's going to be cut so short. He's going to be unfulfilled potential. That's what... No, anyway, sorry, that went way too dark.
Yeah, you're taking it to a place we don't want to go. But that's gonna be one to watch as well. But yeah, so they did. They won the tag team titles in the what did they the Thunder Bastard, right?
Yes.
Tag team
which we made fun of last time, but was a hell of a match. It was really...
Yeah, well, with the people that were in it, it looked like it was going to be a good match.
It was just a great clusterfuck match. I recommend the entire show. Maybe not the Jimmy Havoc match, if we're honest. It wasn't great. I'm sorry.
Oh. I'm a fan of Jimmy Havoc, though.
My issue with that match more than anything was, and I'm sure you've seen the picture, Jimmy Havoc painted himself white, and it was the most uncomfortable thing I've ever seen.
I haven't seen a picture
so Jimmy
of that.
Havoc, normally his gimmick is for a death match he wears all white. That's the fairly standard thing.
Right.
Because you can see the blood better.
Yeah.
He went one up by painting himself completely white. I'm sure the idea was, look how intimidating it is. But it just kind of looked like your drunk uncle that's just come back from a football game, you know?
Right. Well, but then they wouldn't just be one color; they would normally be two colors. But I get what you're saying.
That match was a bit of a letdown, but the rest of the show, great. Go check it out. Watch Walter Tyler Bate because it might be. It's also in conversation for match of the year, I would say. Not as good as Walter Ospreay, but still one of the best Tyler Bate singles matches I've seen in quite a while.
Yeah, Tyler Bate's phenomenal. I really like Tyler Bate, so I'm definitely gonna like I said, it's on my list. It's one that I'm gonna get to, but people should definitely get out and check out Demand Progress. I enjoyed Demand Progress. I got hooked on. I need to renew Demand Progress because I got hooked on Freedom's Road. It was my cardio show. I'd throw that on while I was doing cardio.
Freedom's Road is so you've only seen season 1 of Freedom's Road, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm almost closing out season 1. Yeah, and I've heard season 2 is leaps and bounds ahead. But I'm enjoying season 1.
So for people that don't know, Freedom's Road it's a weekly show Progress did. It's sort of their how do I put this? It's their school show almost. It's for the Projo.
Yeah, the Projo.
Projo show. Say that 10 times fast.
Projo show. I'm actually gonna
and then in season 2, it became this sort of weird soap opera, Lucha Underground style show. It's very different.
Well, I mean, even in season 1, it has the soap opera elements. Like the groundwork is there, but from what I saw, like what hooked me on it was the trailer for season 2 popped up. And I watched that. I think that was just like when I was going down a YouTube rabbit hole. The trailer for season 2, and I was like, "This looks incredible." Go to Demand Progress. Oh, I got to start at season 1. Like it started playing at season 2 because that was what was there, and I was like, "Wait, why has this person been stabbed? What is going on?" And so I had to rewind and I had to start from season 1 and stuff. So I was working my way through it as I was doing cardio, like I said, and yeah, it has those soap opera elements there. Like it doesn't have your traditional promos so much as, different bits with people interacting outside of the squared circle, kind of like Lucha Underground does. But it's not supernatural or anything as of yet, at least. So I'm very interested to see where it goes.
It's very, very different. I'll just say that it's different.
Yeah, and I'm a person who likes different in my wrestling, right? Like one of my favorite Australian products is Underworld Wrestling, and they do this whole thing where it's a underworld fight club that's been around for 200 years or a couple of centuries, and it's just come out to the public, and they have like 10-minute time limits, and they have a whole point system, and it's fantastic, right? I like it when people try something different, and so straight away this freedom.
Yeah, I actually Underworld is something that was on my radar for a bit. I think, and again, weird tangent. I think their rules were a bit complicated for me.
Well, look, we're going to have to go through it while we're off air. People can go back and listen to my episode, my All the Rest episode, which aired on Sunday, the 21st of October. I will link it in the show notes. I did a rundown of Underworld 3, the show that just released this month, and I went through all the rules and everything and spoke about how they played into one of the storylines, and it's epic, it's fantastic, and episode 3 is the company really finding their feet and starting to run. So I highly recommend Underworld Wrestling. If people listening to this because they're like, oh, let's hear about the British wrestling, and you're like, oh, Aussie wrestling's kind of on the radar like it is for Aqeel, Underworld is definitely one to check out. They have some of the best guys in the country working that show, and it's a very unique concept. But I'll tell you more about it as we get off air, Aqeel. We really need to get into this WXW Tag League, I think, is the last thing we have to talk about.
We talked a little bit about WXW earlier, but they have, for a while, they were a company known for these two marquee weekends they do. Tag League in October and 16 Carat in March. They're big 3-day-long tournaments, just showcasing a lot of the best German talent as well as a lot of cool fly-ins. Zack Sabre Jr. won it 1 year. Ilja Dagunov won it last year. Carat I'm talking about, not Tag League. So Tag League happened last weekend or the weekend before. I'm not good with dates.
Right. It was the same weekend as the WWE Super Showdown, so it was a couple of weeks ago now, yeah.
God,
It was at the
this
beginning of
month
the
has gone by so quick. Anyway, sorry. Yeah.
Very
so Tag League happened.
Yes.
You had it was a 2-block tournament. Group A, basically every single match from that block was incredible. It was Aussie Open, Lucha Bros, Penta and Phoenix, Okami, Daichi Hashimoto and Kamitani from Big Japan, and Ring Camp of Walter and Timothy Thatcher, and literally every single match.
Right.
Literally every single match they had, I would recommend watching. B block was a bit more storyline driven.
Right, so it's kind of like the opposite to the G1, because in the G1, B block was all like stacked crazy matches, and A block was more storytelling matches with Tanahashi and stuff. This year with the G1s, it's kind of like the
for sure. But I think the difference is because the G1 blocks are a bit bigger, you get a couple duds. Just naturally, it's going to happen. You'll get some bad. Whereas because these are blocks of 4 teams, block A again, just incredible. Banger.
It was just banger after banger.
Banger after banger. Block B, again, more storyline driven. JFK is the team that ended up winning it and so won their tag titles. That is Francis Caspin and Jay Skillett. They're 2 German dudes that WXW have been pushing a lot. I think we'll end up talking more about WXW down the line. It's just, if I'm completely honest, it's not a company I've been following as closely as I should be. So there's only so much I can say right now. But the main thing I wanted to talk about is there was a match in night 2, the main event of night 2, which was originally supposed to be a 3-way match between Ilja Dagunov, their champion, Absolute Andy, and Bobby Guns. It was for the title. What ended up happening is Absolute Andy, the champion, is injured, so he had to pull out. And so you lost the heel in the match, and you had two beloved, really, really beloved babyfaces in the match. Ilja Dagunov is
Right.
loved by most of the German fans. Bobby Guns is someone that the British and Irish fans that got over for Cara sort of adopted as their own. And so you had two beloved babyfaces in this big time title match. You don't normally have babyface versus babyface matches in WWE in general. So what ended up happening was you had dueling chants for about 20 minutes of this match. Yeah, non-stop.
Wow.
It's
So similar to what happened in the British Strong Style tag match on NXT, how it was just non-stop crowd
I think
noise.
the difference is that wasn't as sustained over a long period.
Yeah, and also that was because Jeremy Borish said
Yeah,
whoever's
of course.
loudest gets a free T-shirt.
Of course. I mean,
So,
what I would,
you know,
yeah.
a little forced.
But no, this was something really, really special. The match itself, I think, I've watched it now. I heard a lot of people that were there calling it like match of the year, giving it 5 stars, all of this stuff. I think it's a very, very special atmosphere, but the wrestlers didn't really know what to do. Like, there's a point where Bobby Guns does the finger breaking spot, and so he tries to shush the crowd. And obviously that just doesn't work because they've been going for about 10 minutes at that point. They just didn't know how to wrestle in front of a crowd like that. It was still a very, very good match. And again, free on YouTube. Greg will link it to you. Please watch it. It's really, really interesting to watch.
Yeah. I've had the link sitting there in my notes for 2 weeks since you sent it to me, Arn sent it to me, and like the jerk I am, because WWE have 12 hours of content or something ridiculous a week. I haven't gotten to it, but it's gonna happen. I'll watch it. It'll be first up after my Red Dead Redemption week off.
WWE, that's what it is.
I do want to, but unfortunately, you can't really be in this game and not cover WWE.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
So it is what it is. But yeah, I'm definitely going to get to this one, and I will link it in the show notes so that you, good people listening, who don't need to watch 12 hours of WWE because I do it for you, so that you can just listen to an hour instead, and that way you don't have to watch, right? So I free you up so that you can experience all this great wrestling that I'm missing out on, thanks to people like Aqeel the heel who get to watch it and let us know. So he's not really a heel. He's more of a character face.
Well, I'd like to consider myself a tweeter.
Awesome. Well, look, I think that's all we have time for anyway, Aqeel. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we go?
No, I've covered all the big things.
Right, and where can people find you if they want to go Dean Ambrose on you, with you being Seth Rollins in this situation?
Oh yeah, Raw. That's a thing that happened.
Just tell people where they can find you.
You can follow me on Twitter at Aqeel Khalid, AQEELKHALID. I do a lot of weird, wonderful projects. That's the best place to find all of them. The Review Reviews podcast just rebooted, so if you want more of me talking, check that out. We did an interview with Daniel Maccabee, who is your new favourite professional wrestler, basically. Please listen to it. It's really good. It's one of the favourite things I've done in a while. That's all I've got.
Well, there you go. Review podcast. I'm going to have to come on and talk some Aussie graps to you guys.
I hope so. That's the plan.
Yeah. But I'll drop the links to all of those in the show notes, which means it's on Aqeel to get those links to me before I put this episode out tomorrow morning. I am at Greg Unchained on Twitter, at the Greg Unchained on Instagram. We collectively are the B Plus Wrestle on Twitter because wrestling wouldn't fit the B Plus Wrestling everywhere else. Please leave us a 5-star review on iTunes if you like what we do. It helps us grow, helps the algorithms. I don't really understand it. It's just a thing that people say at the end of podcasts, and I do a podcast, so I'm going to say it. Thank you so much for listening.
Hold one. Arm drag.
You're not good at this. Get out. Let me tell you a personal story about Vince McMahon.
You just made the list.
Sorry, no speak English.
Dummy.
Goodbye and good night.
Hold two. Arm bar.
This is the worst town I've ever been in.
It's still real to me, damn it. Dummy. Hold three. The moss covered.